Kenneth Colin Irving, or K.C. as he was known, was born on March 14, 1899 in Bouctouche. Even at a young age, Irving was business savvy. When he was 10 years old, he bought a used Model T Ford for just $8. When his father found out, he told K.C. to sell it because he was too young to drive. He resold it for $11. In his teens, while studying at Acadia University, Irving enrolled in the Royal Flying Corps, but did not participate in the First World War. In 1922, in his early 20s, Irving started selling Model Ts at a dealership in Richibucto. Always the businessman, he had other plans. Irving saw combustion engines were becoming the way of the future and decided he wanted to invest in the gasoline business. He convinced Imperial Oil to make him the sole agent for Kent County, and business thrived. Quickly, Irving wanted to go into business on his own. When Imperial Oil learned of this, they revoked his license to sell gasoline. With his pride hurt but always persistent, he asked his father, J.D. Irving, and another partner to invest in his business. With their $100,000 investment, the K.C. Irving Oil and Gas Company was born. The business sold cars and fuels, but due to competitor complaints, K.C. Irving had his car-selling license revoked. He was then offered a chance to run the Ford dealership in St. John. Irving accepted and was up and running in St. John in no time. Irving understood that the real money came from ensuring that the cars kept running and not from the car sale itself. His prediction proved right, especially during the Great Depression. During the 1930s, car dealerships were hurting, but the cars that were already on the road needed to be maintained.
I think it's been said often that K.C. really liked to see the wheels turn. It really wasn't. It never really appeared, and it doesn't today appear, that the Irvings are about growing their wealth. It's about increasing economic activity and seeing the wheels turn. I think K.C. really started that as at an early age when he had a car dealership and he was going to sell gas to the cars, so he needed a gas station. Well, where was he going to get the gas? He'd have to buy the gas. Well, eventually that led to a refinery, and then how am I getting that oil to the refinery? Well, I'm chartering ships. Well, maybe I should have my own ships. So it really is looking forward to figure out what is the next step in growing our business, and how can I have that economic impact based in New Brunswick.
Always looking to expand, K.C. Irving bought some bus companies and made his own, SMT Limited. Tenacity and toughness were the trademarks of K.C. Irving.
Well, obviously, K.C. was a very, very focused and determined business person, and that played out in all of his negotiations. But I think more than anything, he was an exceptional, and my dad used to make this comment, he was an exceptional salesperson. And he really was in his own when he was selling. He had a great way. He was a real gentleman. He had a great way around people. He obviously could be very tough at times, but he seemed to be able to choose those times and select those times in a very strategic way in terms of the times to be tough.
We could describe him as an industrialist. We could describe him as a lumber baron. Who wakes up in Bouctouche one day and decides that they want to have a partnership with Standard Oil Company? I mean, these are huge, 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 big steps.
On February 4th, 1927, he married Harriet McNairn, and they had 3 sons, J.K., Arthur, and Jack. Looking for another challenge, K.C. Irving began acquiring land in order to run his father's sawmill in Bouctouche, as well as mills he'd bought over the years. 1.5 million acres of timberland was acquired by Irving in the mid-1940s, making him one of the largest landowners in the province.
Thousands of acres of land, for $1 an acre from the old, New Brunswick Railway Company, and we ask ourselves, wow, he got a good deal? But the real answer is, why didn't somebody else do that?
After that, Irving bought lumber and pulp and paper mills. At that point, Irving entered the newspaper business. He bought the 2 St. John dailies, the Telegraph Journal and the Evening Times Globe. That began a pattern of purchasing daily and weekly New Brunswick papers. Observers have suggested the newspaper purchases were the start of troubles for Irving in the province. Accused of creating a newspaper monopoly and opposed to taxation, he retreated to Bermuda. From that point, his 3 boys ran the majority of the businesses. But K.C. Irving still exerted wisdom, control, and authority on those businesses.
I have met J.K., I have met Arthur, I have met Jack, and in the next generation, you can't do the things I've done and have been a cabinet minister and a business prof without having met, J.D. and Jamie, and they've all been molded in that same kind of vision.
K.C. Irving passed away in 1992 at the age of 93, survived by his second wife Winifred, his 3 sons and grandchildren. Almost everywhere in New Brunswick, there are reminders of Irving's dynasty. Kent Building Supplies, Irving Gas Stations, Midland and Sunbury Trucking, to name a few.
Well, I think it's undeniable that K.C. Irving was a leader of his generation in our country, and to have his home base here in St. John, and that continue to this day, has delivered huge benefits for our community and our province.
Vertical integration, is kind of a term that we would talk about in a business school, and K.C. Irving understood that. He wanted to, he looked at every supplier and wanted to have a piece of that. He looked at every customer, wanted to have a piece of that, and so control over what we would call the value chain and the supply chain was certainly a vision that was ahead of his time.
They are constants in New Brunswick's landscape, and for that reason, K.C. Irving is one of the 12 New Brunswick greats.